My bad. I hit the wrong button. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch. It's proudly powered by PureVPN. Just because RCS doesn't have encryption and protection doesn't mean that you shouldn't have it. With a service like PureVPN, you can obfuscate your browsing history from either your ISP or from Facebook and Google. You get the ability to change your location and hide your IP address. So if you're using, like we were just talking about, if you're using RCS, which works over data, it will protect that as well. And right now, you can get a 5-year plan for $1.32 a month, including all of the cool features that we just talked about and a whole lot more. And there's a 31-day money-back guarantee. If you sign up, you don't like it, no worries, you can get your money back. You can find that deal by going to piltchpoint.live/purevpn. All right, Avram, you have got something that I'm pretty excited to hear you talk about because I set up the relationship with one of them.
Yes. Thank you for getting me one of these to test. So, for a long time, I've really wanted to find more ways to be productive while standing in line, to be able to write articles or, now we do have, obviously, the number one way to do that is to use a phone or a tablet and type on that. Uh, and that's all well and good. But what if you couldn't even do that because you are wearing AR glasses? Um, Not that I have any, but you know, or what if you had a computer in one hand and you needed to really, like a tablet, like a Windows tablet or something, and you really wanted to be able to type quickly in the other hand? Well, then you would need a different type of typing device. Ideally, in this world, you would have a keyboard drone that would just sort of float in front of you and you'd be able to type with two hands.
I love it.
But until someone invents that, um, we have things like the DecaTxt. So this is a neat little Bluetooth keyboard that has been on the market for a couple of years now, but I had not gotten to check it out until now. Uh, what it does is, as you can see, it doesn't have like all the keys you need to type by hitting, one key at a time. It has 10 keys, right?
Yes.
Two on the top, four down each side. So how do you actually use it? Well, some of the things like a few of the letters you get just by tapping one key. Like if I just want A, boom, I can just tap that. But if I want, say, K, which is written under here under the A key in red, then I have to hold down the button for red and the A key, and now I get K. And if you can see this, there's just a whole bunch of different symbols and actions written down on here that you can make through different key combinations. And there's a fairly large learning curve, which I am in now, because you have to kind of develop your muscle memory to say, oh, okay, I want K and that's this. So far, I'm still trying to learn the different strokes and how to do them, and also just the best way to hold this in one hand, because even though you could hold this in two hands, it doesn't seem like what you would really want to do, because what you really want to do, if you wanted all to think in two hands, you could probably have, a little tiny QWERTY keyboard. But um, the goal of this is that you can use it in one hand. Um, this reminds me a great deal of a time about 20 years ago when I was an editor at About.com, and I had a writer writing about wearables for me. This is before people thought of a watch as a wearable. This guy's name was Steve Mann. He's still around. He's a professor at University of Toronto, and ever since the 80s, he has been building his own AR headsets. Um, so what he will do what he would do is he would have this giant headset on his head, and then he invented something that wasn't this but was a similar concept called the keyer, he called it, and he would use it to type into his headset. um, Now today there aren't a ton of headsets on the market that you would really want to use a keyboard with. First of all, there aren't a ton of AR headsets you could just walk around with. I think about maybe the Android ones from companies like Third Eye. You probably could run a regular Android app and pair this via Bluetooth and do things that way. Um, but um, so in that respect, for a lot of people, this may be ahead of its time. But if you're doing something like you've got a Windows computer or and you're holding it in front of you and you just want to type, and you're holding the PC in one hand, this will allow you to type with the other. Um, so, and obviously, once it gets into your glasses, this kind of thing would be invaluable. So it's really neat for any of those purposes. Still got to learn quite a bit about it and see how comfortable I can get with stretching my fingers this way. That's something I'm still trying to figure out. Am I is can I get in a comfort zone with moving my fingers back and forth like this and holding it? Um, and and then we'll see how fast I can type. But this is a really, I haven't seen anything else in the market like it. It's really a one of a kind product, um, and it's available on Amazon for $125, which no doubt is a lot of money for a Bluetooth keyboard, but there's nothing like this. So, what you're paying for is the innovation. Um, then I have another input method here to show while we're talking. That is, I said there's nothing like the DecaTxt. There's nothing that operates like it, but this is perhaps for a similar purpose. And this here is called the Tap Strap. So it is a set of rings that you put on your hand. I'll try to put it on now. I have to say not it's not pleasant to use while you're doing other stuff like typing. So I put it on when I need it. It's like a pair of brass knuckles for communication, right?
I guess technically regular brass knuckles are for communication too, just a different type. They're a more abrupt type of communication.
Also, right. So this is also a Bluetooth device you can pair with anything that's Bluetooth capable, like your phone. Although there are dedicated phone apps for this that teach you how to use it. There are actually games you can play with it where you like do gestures to like fire and move. So I really think this is a cool idea, but it hasn't worked very well for me so far. I'm also learning the gestures for this. For example, just tapping one of each finger individually should be A, E, I, O, and U, the vowels. But when I'm doing it, for some reason, it's not always registering. Now, or it's registering something else. Part of the problem is that this can be it's hard to adjust, and it's quite loose. And so if you move your finger and this little nodule is not moving also, it doesn't know that you moved, right? So they have a large and a small size, and they sent us the large size. And if you think this was difficult for me to tighten on my hand, you should see what happened when my 7-year-old was trying it. It was not working. I mean, look, they didn't make it for him, but this is kind of a really neat concept. Again, would work great when you're walking around, but it also is really good and I suppose you could say that of the DecaTxt too. If you have something that's all the way across the room, like something you're doing on a projector, this could be a neat way to move around. It also has a mouse mode that you can use to actually move a pointer around. So I know this is more expensive than the DecaTxt. It's normally 200, and now I believe right about now it's on sale for 180. Uh, that's for the Tap Strap 2. There's also a Tap Strap 1, which doesn't have the mouse mode, and I'm not sure how much that is. But I was really fascinated. I'm really fascinated by both of these devices because they take something that we take for granted, our QWERTY keyboard, and they find a way to another innovative way of letting you do data entry in a situation where you normally wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, that's
So I'm
that's really interesting.
I'm working on an article comparing these, but the problem is, I really before I can make my final judgments about these, I have to get much better at using them, um, which is quite a learning curve, no doubt. But if you invest that kind of money in these, you're going to take the time to learn, and you're going to obviously have a really good use case uh, for these. So,
Sure.
and as time goes by, I hope there are more use cases um, for things like this because there'll be more devices that you can use. I mean, for example, um, I mean, I don't really think there's you could use these with a smart watch because there's not a lot of apps for typing on a smartwatch that
Hmm.
require typing, but theoretically, that would be a good use case. There's just a lot of areas where, you need a small, simple way to type, a small way to type with just one hand. And these provide that when other things don't.
Yeah, that's that's interesting. Whenever we talk about a topic like this, I am taken back to one of my first CESs and sitting on the floor with a Palm Pre and writing an article on the Palm Pre and thinking, "Holy cow, there's got to be a better way." and and
Yeah,
ever
I mean,
since, we've been looking for that better way.
yeah, I mean, sitting on the floor, to be honest, I would just take my laptop out and sit and use it. Um, the real problem is when you're standing up, and you're having to, like when you're waiting in line
Yeah.
or you're walking around. I guess really bad idea to be doing writing when you're walking around, but I don't know. But if you're waiting in line, I mean, think of how much time we spend waiting in line for 45 minutes an hour.
Hmm.
Having smartphones has really revolutionized waiting in line for anything because you can check your email, you can write things. But if I want to do something on a larger scale than is possible on my phone, um, perhaps I want to do it in Windows because I need to go into a desktop browser and access my company's CMS or something like that.
Hmm.
My phone won't really cut it for that. So, you know, these are, you know, these provide a possible way of doing that, provided you also had like a two-in-one or something you could hold, or you had something going into your glasses.
Hmm.
Um, what you know, of course, the other brute force method is to get one of those things that looks like a cigarette. What do you call those? People used to go around selling cigarettes wearing them.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Like what
the
they've
little
got
tables or whatever.
yeah, like the hot dog guys at a baseball game.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what you call
I
that.
don't either.
Um, but I've seen those made for laptops. But talk about like you're going to carry your $1,000 laptop around on that, and you're going to walk, and someone's going to bump into you, and people are going to be annoyed because you know, if you think you had a big stomach regularly, having one that's like
Uh
juts
huh.
out 3 feet is, you not particularly polite.
Yeah. God forbid you're
So
standing in line for the Samsung press conference at CES. Somebody will deck you, taking up that much
probably, yeah.
space.
So yeah, yeah, no doubt. But I don't know. There has to be better ways of being productive when standing up, and these could be part of that solution.
Yeah, it's nice to see that there's people who are trying out ideas, right? Looking for ways to try and solve this problem, especially since we talked about last week, Qualcomm and Niantic are leaning into, AR headsets real hard right now. It'll be nice to have a control method that's a little more substantial than literal point and click in the air, like with the HoloLens. That's nice. Don't get me wrong. That's a nice thing, but something more substantial than that for typing, for more nuanced controls will definitely be nice. And something like the DecaTxt or the Tap Strap could certainly factor into that. And just for reference, right now the Tap Strap 1 is on Amazon for $119, and the Tap Strap 2 is on Amazon for $169. So not a bad savings there on that new one. Who knows how long that'll run for? By the time I'm done with this sentence, it may not be on sale anymore. But as of this moment, that's the price. So, obviously, you said that you're not quite near being able to write about this yet, right?
Maybe this week, maybe next week. I want to marinate on these a little longer, but I wanted to bring these on and show everyone because I thought they're kind of really neat.
And I can say I have experience with the DecaTxt myself, and you're absolutely right. The learning curve is steep, but I have seen several people. One person took to it like a fish to water. Mark, who has filled in on the show a couple of times, he took to it real quick. I've never seen somebody so just like, oh, I got it. And then obviously I've seen the founder. He uses it a lot, and he's real quick on it. So you can definitely get good at it. And I know I've seen people talk about it on like on Amazon and on the website where they have good things to say about it. So, there is a way past the learning curve. So, I've just never gotten there myself. I've tried. I've never gotten past the learning curve, but it's okay. I definitely look forward to seeing your final thoughts on it, and I look forward to what we talk about next.